Hello everybody and welcome to the ISR AIC for round 2. Today we're out here in Germany for Mendig Flutzpatz, the airfield circuit out in Germany, a fan favourite within Automobilista. This is the short variant, so we won't be visiting the countryside roads, but we will be seeing what a fantastic circuit the airfield offers for us this weekend. I'm Toby Byrne, alongside me today is Craig Evans. Welcome along to the commentary box, Craig. How are you feeling?
Hi Toby, thanks for having me. Now looking forward to this one, so I had to watch the first race from the stand, so it's going to be excellent to get involved in this one and see what all the fuss is about.
Awesome, I'm glad to have you aboard. So Mendig Flutzpatz, as we've mentioned, the airfield circuit in Germany was the main base track for our pre-season testing, so the guys do know this circuit very well. This is a lot where a lot of the AI were coded, you know, where they were tested and the statistics were built for them. So this is effectively home for all of our drivers. We don't have any German drivers amongst our grid, unfortunately, so no one having a home Grand Prix just yet in the season. We'll leave that out for next time in Snetterton, where the British drivers, a few of them will get their home Grand Prix. Speaking of Snetterton, is next time out they do get a lovely new update, so this will be the last of these races before a complete change of the game, Craig.
Yes, but that'll provide some action-packed racing. Obviously, everything's been quite close and tight so far, but we just need people to be a little bit more aggressive in their moves, and you never know with this update that could be what we're looking for. But this circuit, quite a wide circuit, a lot wider than Poznan in areas, so this could to lead to some nice dive bombs up the insides, moves all over the place. So it'll be interesting to see how they cope at this circuit. Not one I'm familiar with, but like you said, the drivers had their pre-season testing here. All the AI were dialed in on this circuit, so they know it very, very well. But they know where to defend, they know where to attack. But we're looking forward to a good race, and next time out the update could have some even more action-packed racing.
So you can see our lovely helicopters flying over the airfield circuit. Then we promise we will get some lovely helicopter shots in the race for you. Last time out then, it was Callum Spencer who was able to dominate the race, as it was a tale of Mendig versus Martin for second place, which eventually ended up being a huge 5-car battle for third position. And Spencer was, able to just take that all in his stride. We know Spencer is incredibly good at, just walking away with race results while other guys are focusing on battles around them. And this is a lovely little shot we've got of the chicane going around here. But it is almost time then to go and find out what happened in qualifying. And let's go take over and have a look. So it's Gareth Lennon then who was able to take it all in his stride this time out and get in the Riser Studios super pole point, just 16 thousandths of a second ahead of Douglas Anderson. Next up, just over half a tenth of a second, was Stephen Paul, and Christopher Petterson following him. Great result for NOR considering their performance last time out. Danny Diaz is ahead of Joshua Robert Wood, and Joshua Robert Wood is Mr. Consistency, as he is the first of our top 5 finishers last time out to get into the top 5 for qualifying this time. He actually lines up in 6th place, so just outside of the top 5 for Joshua Robert Wood. Next page sees Craig Evans just under a tenth of a second off the leader's pace, and just again ahead of Nut Martinson. Force Fizzy improving on the qualifying pace, but it's Josh Martin who slips a bit of pace this time out and will start all the way down on the second page. Evan Imre is next up, so Force Fizzy sandwich for Josh Martin, who starts just ahead of Ross McFarlane, and then Zach Swader again losing pace from the first time out. McAllister ahead of Byrne, who improves as Byrne started last time out. He will be very impressed to be starting a lot higher up in the midfield this time. Valeria Campagnari next lines up ahead of Andrew Pavia, and Callum Spencer, last time's pole sitter, struggling all the way down on the third page of our qualifying results then, just ahead of Nickel Foggy. Was able to just get 1,000th of a second above being 2/10 of a second off the pace. Next lines up Charles McBee, again a miserable performance for him, and last time's second place finisher Rhinus Mendig will line up in last place. What a disappointment for him. And Craig, the grid in qualifying has certainly reshuffled from last time out in Poznan. How do you think that will affect the race?
It's a complete reshuffle, isn't it? You've got people from who finished at the front starting at the back and vice versa. But give me an interesting race. We'll hopefully we'll have some overtaking action, see who can fight through the field a bit. When you look at McBee and Renus Malganis at the back there, who would have thought being 2.5 tenths off the pole would have got you last place on the grid? So yeah, although they're last, they can't be too disheartened being that close to the pace setters. But yeah, with qualifying times like this, you never know what's going to happen in the race. Dives into turn one, dives throughout the rest of the circuit, trains, battles, you name it. We're going to have it today, I'm pretty sure.
It really is incredible, isn't it, how close these guys can get to each other's qualifying time. Like you said, I don't think there's any other series in the world where you can be 2 tenths off the leader's pace and that would get you last on the grid. So incredibly close for these guys in our little 2014 Sirocco Cup cars. There's always the opportunity for turn 1 accidents as well, just to throw that variable inside of your suggestions of what may happen in the race. And speaking of that race, let's go find out how it's all going to unfold. I can't wait for this one. And we are almost ready to get completely underway then here at Mendig, the airfield circuit in Germany. Toby Byrne alongside Craig Evans for you for your commentary today as we look around the circuit our drivers will be participating at here today. Incredible circuit. We can see then is Gareth Lennon on pole from Douglas Anderson side by side. As we look at our grid then, Gareth Lennon eager to get underway. Behind him is Stephen Paul for GTFG, and of course next to him will be Douglas Anderson for YMR as we look up and down the grid as these drivers are getting ready. The tension builds here at Mendig as we get ready to go underway, and here we go then, the lights are out and away we go, and it looks like it's a decent start for Gareth Lennon as we head into turn 1, and I think that's Stephen Paul challenging for second place as we head into turn 1, and oh my goodness, Douglas Anderson, he's gone straight on, he's gone over the grass as our cameraman scrambles up and down to try and find what's just happened, and oh, even more contact as Douglas Anderson slams into the side of him. I don't know if Stephen Paul hit Douglas Anderson off into turn 1 there, but for whatever reason Douglas went extremely wide, had to go over the grass, and is now being swamped down to about 7th or 8th place as he scrambles on for dear life. And Craig, I don't think that could have gone much worse for Douglas.
No, definitely not. That's not the start he wanted at all. He had a nice qualifying, high up the field, and yeah, it's just gone from bad to worse for him. But Lennon doing exactly what his teammate Spencer did in the last race, taking the lead and going for it, Toby. He's not quite gone, but he's getting there.
Yeah, Rothman's SLR having an incredible start to the season of AIC with their qualifying pace. Unfortunately for Callum Spencer, it's a bit of an opposite tail as he starts all the way down towards the back of the field. We can actually see him there getting tangled up with the ISR car as the ISR car tries to make a move around the outside, gets the doors firmly slammed shut in his face. So Spencer trying to get the judge on. That's Melton Galis then, who actually, Craig, finished second last time out. So what a difference a week can make as we look up and down the field then as we come through the chicane to start lap 2. This is Joshua Robert Wood then, probably the most consistent out of rounds 1 and 2 as he's all the way up in 5th, I believe, Craig, and he is probably the only one from last week who had a really good result who is fighting for the top 5 right now.
Yeah, he's keeping it consistent. It's a different circuit to what we had last time around, so yeah, some of these drivers struggling a little bit. Pace-wise, they're not really far off the pace when you look at qualifying, but yeah, different circuit entirely. When you're getting a feel like this, be caught up behind somebody like Wood is here, then yeah, you're not going to make up many places. But yeah, he's consistent so far. He's got a nice gap behind him, so he doesn't need to push just yet. Just kind of feel out the car in front, see where he's strong compared to that car, and look for the overtake. But yeah, for now he's looking to be one of the main competitors in this championship fight.
Yeah, of course, you don't need to win every race to win a championship, so Josh is just doing what he needs to do, gathering the points where he needs to grab them, and it would do him a world of good if he could get past Danny Diaz and hunt down Christopher Pettersson for a podium position. Christopher Pettersson giving Noel a bit of light at the end of the tunnel as they scored no points last time out in Poznan then. So as we come through the final chicane to get back on the start-finish straight once again and get underway for lap 3, we can see that it's Gareth Lennon starting to eke out his lead ahead of Stephen Paul from Christopher Pettersson. You're looking at Danny Diaz and Joshua Robert Wood as they go into turn 1, and I think that's Douglas Anderson, and we can see that the incident involving cars 5, which is Paul, and 11, Anderson, is under investigation for causing a collision, Craig. I think we will have some replays a bit later on, but first thoughts, what did you think of it?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really see much of it. It did look like Anderson had just kind of run a little bit too deep, so it'd be interesting to see back in the replay, have a second look at it. But Douglas, he's doing not too bad now. He does have a little bit of a train forming behind him, but at least he's still well within the points. And yeah, it's not the greatest start for him, but he can't complain too much. But we look like McFarlane's under pressure here now from one of the Mac Iron Brew cars. I think that's Colin McAllister behind him. Not able to make a move this time around, but Colin himself has to be careful. I think that's Swader just close behind him. So yeah, you don't want to get out of line here because you could be out of the train and losing too many positions if you're not careful.
Yeah, we saw Colin McAllister from Mackay and Brew then was trying to go all the way around the outside and actually make a switch back out of it. It was a very unconventional move, and that's probably why it didn't pay off for him. But Ross McFarlane is forming a little bit of a train as he struggles to keep to the back of the Force Fizzy car ahead of him. I think that may be Evan Imre just ahead of Ross McFarlane, but McAllister is very, very close then to the rear of McFarlane as we come on to start lap 4. And we can see the train is just building all the way down as these guys are nose to tail, excuse me there. As we come into turn 1, everyone's playing a bit sensible. Everyone does have quite a lot of knowledge of this circuit, Craig, because this circuit was used in pre-season testing. It was one of the main pre-season test tracks for all these AI to get built in, you know, coded in all the statistics, worked out like that. And here we have a replay, Craig. We can see riding on board with Douglas Anderson. He comes into turn 1. It certainly looked there like he did get a bit of a tap.
Yeah, it looks like, I wonder if was it Paul trying to go up the inside of him, just not getting it quite right, and then Douglas having the red mist descended there, and he was trying to get a move back up the inside, but definite contact, Toby. And here we go, another viewpoint. So Douglas has got the inside there, no bother at all, and just have a quick watch. Oh, he just got tagged straight on the rear, so I don't know, there's a bit like would you say a pendulum effect there? Douglas was swinging to the right to get a nice turn in left, and the other car was already going to the left, and not much in it, to be honest, but yeah, enough to put Douglas off, which is a shame for him after a good qualifying. Yeah,
it looked like Douglas was having his own accident, like he'd just locked up the rears or something, and Stephen Paul unfortunately had to make the corner as well, and really didn't have much to go with it, but the back of him, I'd be if Paul got a penalty for that, I'd say it'd be very, very harsh from a panel of stewards, so we'll have to see what their decision is, as we're looking at Byrne and Mel Gaines, the two ISR cars, line of stern, trying to attack Valeria Campagnari of NORL. Sorry, and of course both Nemesis Online racing cars failed to score points first out in Poznan, but they said on their Twitter feed that they would try their best and keep working to improve on those results, and they're getting what they want. Christopher Pettersson, the two-time NORL champion, is up in 3rd place right now, kind of in no man's land. As you can see, he's a bit ahead. We can actually see, Craig, from this onboard shot, if you just look ahead up there, I think that's Gareth Lennon with Stephen Paul chasing him down, but you'd have to say Danny Diaz is forming a bit of a train, because he's allowed Douglas Anderson to come back in for him, so here's our leading pair then, but a bit of a train being formed by Diaz. As we look back at our leading pair, and this is our battle for the lead, Craig. If you want to take over for a little bit and just let us know what would you do in this situation. You're a driver who competes in touring car events quite a lot. This is sort of similar to touring cars, but what can you really do around an airfield circuit in these kind of cars?
The thing is, I'm not overly familiar with this circuit myself. I know these drivers have been here before in testing, so they've got a lot more knowledge than I do. But when it comes to touring cars in general, these two have a nice gap at the front. They don't want to start battling too hard just yet. There is a long way to go in this race. Anybody that watches touring cars will know that as soon as you start battling, the chasing pack come on you in no time at all, even if you've got a 5-second or so gap like these guys do at the front at the moment. So just kind of feel like your competition. They've both got a nice gap at the moment. Stephen Paul doesn't need to make any moves right now. If he feels like Lennon's holding him up and the cars behind are catching up, then yeah, by all means go for a move. But you don't want to jeopardise your own races just yet. And there's a reminder again that the incident at the start with Paul Anderson is under investigation. So that's another thing Stephen Paul has to contend with. He's got this black cloud hanging over him at the moment. I'm sure his race engineers will have told him that he is under investigation. Looking at the accident, we've been able to discuss it. We don't think there's too much malice in that, so he should be fine. But yeah, you don't know. These thoughts can be going through the drivers' heads, and he'll want to make up for a lost combined enemy, especially if he does get a penalty. But at the moment, they've got a comfortable gap. There's no need to make any rash decisions, rash moves. But yeah, just feel your enemy. Look at where they're making mistakes, where they're slower, and try and capitalise on that. But he's getting very, very close to this infield section now, Toby. If he gets a good run, you never know, he might get a slip between the start finish. I think we're coming towards the end of the lap, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Gareth Lennon not really giving him a lot of opportunities, but Craig Evans not one to know much about making rash moves, as that message from race control was confirming that no further action will be taken on the Paul and Anderson incident. So Paul gets away, he can get that. His team will be telling him that he can get that off his head and focus off on the task at hand right now, which is the battle for first position. And I think it's good that Stephen Paul doesn't get a penalty, because like we said, there wasn't much in it. It wasn't really his fault. Anderson had his own accident, and Paul just sort of caught him at the wrong time. And if Paul did get a penalty, obviously it would have ruined this lovely battle we've got going for first right now. So it's yeah, it's good to see the stewards being lenient, and I think that was the right decision, Craig.
Yeah, it would have helped if I read that message properly when it came up, and it would have made more sense while I was talking. But where's the fun in reading things? But that accident at the start, we had a nice aerial shot off that, and you can see there was other cars that got caught up in that as well. So there was a few movers and shakers through the start. Some of the others got caught on the inside. So yeah, it didn't just affect those two; it affected those close behind them as well. But like you say, it's good to get that weight off Stephen's shoulders, and he's really putting the pressure on Lenny now. And as you can see, Diaz still in the background, just holding that queue. It's getting ever bigger. I think there's more cars latching onto that lap after lap, Toby.
Yeah, you can see it's actually getting... Yeah, there is side-by-side action going on back there. I think the cameraman is trying to find his way back there, as we can see multiple cars side-by-side. I think is that Douglas Anderson trying to go up the inside of Nut Martinson, and now is that Ross McFarlane? No, it's not. It's Craig Evans trying to go around the outside of Douglas Anderson as a result. So Dougie tried to make a move up the inside of Martinson, also known as Fizzy Fan 91, whose birthday it was yesterday. Happy birthday to Fizzy Fan 91 and our driver Nut Martinson. But yeah, he tried to make a move up the inside and came a bit unstuck in doing so. That gave Craig the opportunity. Unfortunately, it was a corner where it's incredibly tough to make a move, but we did see an incredible move in pre-season testing that Colin McAllister pulled off on Josh Martin. So it is possible, it's just very tricky to do, and you'd have to say in Craig's defence, there was a lot more cars involved in when Colin McAllister made it on Josh Martin. I think there was only 3 cars involved in that scrap in pre-season, and here we have at least 9, I'd say, Craig. Diaz seems to have pretty poor race pace compared to his one lap pace, which is causing a bit of a train. And I don't know what I would be feeling if I was Wood right now, because he's obviously, out of everybody from round 1, he is the most consistent right now. He's in the points, and he's probably the only major championship player right now who's having a weekend that he will want. But is he going to be comfortable in this position, Craig, or do you think he'll be wanting to try and maximise it while his rivals are having a bad weekend?
You'll want to maximise it for sure. Even though he's in good points, paying position, I think he's getting 10 points at the moment for where he is. Adding that on to what he got last week, he'll only be about the same as Callum Spencer, who's not in the points at all this week. So although he's consistently in the points, he's not quite at the very, very front and getting the big points, which will help you pull away. But nonetheless, you're not going to want to throw away any points whatsoever. Come the end of the season, they all add up and they all count. But as for Diaz's pace, yeah, he's holding this queue up a little bit, but he's not doing too badly. You'd know he's really slow if he had a lot more cars behind him. But I think Anderson's got struggling a little bit with pace as well at the moment. So I don't know, did he pick up any damage at the start there? So we see McFarlane looking, he's just catching up with the car in front of him there. But I don't know, Anderson's slowing down a little bit too. He's forming a little queue. So we've got 2 queues, one behind Diaz, one behind Anderson. So it'll be interesting to see if he's managed to pick up any damage, and that's maybe hindering him down the straights or through the corners. But Ross McFarlane's very, very close to the car in front. I think that's Josh Martin, his compatriot that he's chasing down there, and we've got a Mackay and Brew car in the background. So we've got a trio of Scottish cars here, Toby.
Yeah, we do seem to have a trend, don't we, in AIC forming a Scottish battling going on. Poznan was full of it, and it looks like Mendig is going to be just the same. Good to see the Force Fizzy cars are having a better weekend, as well as the NORL, like we've previously mentioned. ISR cars are still struggling, but Isle of Base have significantly improved with their race and qualifying pace from Poznan. So it's good to see that our drivers are beginning to get to grips. Of course, Craig, the whole dynamic of AIC will reshuffle next time out at Snetterton with Automobilista and releasing that huge update with at least 3 pages full of tweaks to AI behaviour and undisclosed testing footage, we'll say, has shown that these guys are really going to start getting a bit more rough. And I'm very, very excited to see how that is. So, I mean, this one and Poznan, you would argue, have been slow burners to be more a tactical fight than an all-out dogfight. But I think round 3 and beyond will definitely reward all of our viewers for their patience. But obviously, in that sense, it's also like any real championship, Craig. You know, the first couple of rounds, you're wanting to... You know, these drivers have never, in AIC, have never raced with each other before because it's the inaugural season. I think we can see cars going side by side again further up the field. I think that was off... Well, I think that's a Force Physica. Jesus, Craig is getting really wound up behind the back of Douglas Anderson. He wants to get by him quick sharp because now another Scotsman has joined this battle. So this is another Scottish trio, Craig. This is Douglas Anderson, Craig Evans and Evan Imre. 3 Scotsmen who are being held up a little bit by Evan Imre's teammate of Nut Martinson up ahead as we ride on board with that Force Fizzy. And it is actually by cause of Danny Diaz again. So Danny Diaz is starting to hold up Josh to massive proportions, and that's allowing this scenario. So we're actually getting a replay here. We're on board with an ISR car. I think this is Byrne. And what is this then? Oh, is this how we got past Valerio Campagnari then? So, Byrne able to make a move. And what do you think of that, Craig?
Yeah, very opportunistic move, nicely up the inside. Campagnari made a little bit of a mistake. There we go, Byrne just putting that one home. There you go, like you're not getting back through this section here. But yeah, nicely up the inside. There was a bit of a gap, so you're going to want to take it. And that's what these cars are in a trio. They all want to. That's what they all need to do as well. And like you said, it's as you can see here, a perfect aerial shot of the 3 Scottish drivers. But they may be fellow countrymen, but they won't want to work together, that's for sure. Douglas and Craig especially, they've got a Force Fizzy car either side of them, and yeah, that could team tactics could come into play here. You never know. Martinson might hold them up a wee bit and let his teammate Imre come through, and that's what neither driver wants in the middle. So yeah, they're going to all want to get past each other as soon as possible. But Diaz is definitely the one who's lacking pace here compared to everybody else. Well, what's that? We've got a 7-car train here now for what I am 4th place still, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a long train of cars here trying to get past the EQU driver.
Yeah, this is a massive train. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the potential for 8, 9, 10. Coming in, closing in quick.
11, 12.
That is incredible, and it's worrying for Danny Diaz that his qualifying pace seems to be his only strength right now in race pace. He's really struggling, and you'd have to say with the combination of he's probably all right if he can just manage to defend where it matters in this race. But when this AI update comes into effect for round 3, Craig, this would be a completely different story for Danny Diaz. He'd be in a world of trouble and pain, as it seems he's actually managed to drop Joshua Robert Wood a little bit. So I don't know if Wood has made a mistake into the chicane, but he's got himself a little bit of breathing room, and it's now Wood who comes under pressure from Martinson and Anderson and Evans and Imre, followed by Northern Lights Racing and some other cars coming in the background. So something's upset Robert Wood's flow through that chicane, and that is the breathing room that Danny Diaz needed, Craig.
Yeah, it is. Well, just want to quickly, before I speak about this battle, I just want to say from Anderson, it's 6 Scottish cars in a row if you look closely there. So they may not be together, but the 6 of them in a row. But yeah, going back to what you were saying about the AI on this battle here, we saw it last week. If the leading, in this case, the leading battle here between Diaz and Wood off this little train, when the second car tries to make a move and it doesn't quite work, it then backs it up into the rest of the pack, and the one that's holding everybody up can get a bit of breathing room. And I think that's what's happened here. Wood must have gone for a wee lunge up the inside, didn't quite pan out. Diaz got a breathing space, and Wood's now under pressure from Martinson. So we saw that last week, but yeah, with the with all the changes that are coming into play, any little mistake by Diaz could put Wood up the inside, and then Diaz is completely out of this train, and he could be taken by 6 cars very, very easily. So yeah, there's a lot to think about in the coming races, but it is, like you said before, it's a slow burner. That's how a real season starts as well. Nobody really gives 100%. They all kind of keep it calm a little bit. You don't want to have any repairables this early in the season. But look, Wood's right back on the rear of Diaz's VW there again. So yeah, there's definitely a issue with pace. And in the background, there's another train of 5 or 6 cars. So plenty of action. We just need the overtakes to go with it now.
It is incredible how many cars we are able to fit into one panning shot. And I think when we come onto this straight, we will just see how many. You saw them all funneling into the corner behind these guys. And this is the straight I've been looking forward to, because you usually get a very good shot of everybody in the same shot there. But yeah, Diaz would be in a whole world of pain come the next update. But like you said, it's not only the start of a new season, Craig, but it's also the first ever season. So everyone, there's always going to be things that teams need to work out. The championship holders need to. Oh my God, not Martinson getting on the grass there as he tried to look for a very opportunistic way past Wood. And Martinson is starting to realise that he is in a bit of a problem. He's got 2 cars in front and 3 cars at the rear, and that's probably arguably the worst place to be right now for Martinson as he tries to get past him very desperately. As we look back on our battle for the lead on lap 15, then Gareth Lennon is coming under major assault from Stephen Paul, and Stephen Paul is incredible on the brakes compared to Gareth Lennon. And Gareth Lennon, of course, Craig, not scoring any points out compared to his teammates' 26 points, the 25 for the win and the pole position. So if it stands like this, Callum Spencer having a terrible weekend, if it stands like this, these 2 teammates will be on equal points, and Rothman's SLR will be in such a glorious position in the team standings. So you kind of feel there's a bit of pressure on Lennon, not only to perform for the race win, but to think of how much of a gap that will give Rothman's SLR, and especially between now and this new update. Gareth Lennon is really helping Rothman's SLR here, because there's no guarantee that these guys will continue this amazing run of form after, with this update added. And with this update added from Snetterton and beyond, you would think Stephen Paul would have probably even rammed Lennon off the road right about now. So it's really good for Lennon if he can finish first and give Rothman's SLR that amazing buffer, Craig.
It would, but at the same time, the Stephen Paul's team, Gran Turismo, the fan page, you've got to bear in mind he's teammates with Joshua Wood as well, who, like we said before, had a consistent first and so far second race of the season. So these 2 are early in the season the 2 rivals of the teams. Like you said, Rotham's SLR winning, well, dominating basically the first race of the season with a win and qualifying on a win. And again, so far this race as well at Mendig, obviously Lennon this time around. So these are the 2 teams that are going to be battling early on for the teams championship. And Stephen Paul, he's just right behind Lennon, but when you think about it, he may not want to be too risky and force his team to lose any points. But this is the closing stages of the race now. Less than 5 laps to go. If he wants to make a move and make it stick, then he has to go for it very, very soon, Toby.
Yes, you've got to remember as well, maybe playing on his mind, Stephen Paul's already been investigated once for causing a collision. He got away with it, but I'm not sure if he'd survive a second investigation for causing a collision, especially not with 4 laps to go battling for the lead. I think the stewards would be a lot more harsh on that one. We ride on board with Stephen Paul then as we start lap 17. We come out of the onboard now. You can see Christopher Petterson in the background, just keeping with them. I'm not sure if he's gaining or not, but what is definitely happening is this train is starting to split a bit more.
Douglas Anderson has lost 2 positions there. Both Evans and Emery have overtaken him at some point. So I'm not too sure what's happened with Anderson as we'll flick through the rest of the field, but he's lost another 2 positions, so it's really not the race for Anderson today. Was it second he started, and he's now down in, I think it's 8th position, 9th position, so it's not a good day for Dougie.
Yeah, it's a terrible day. Like you said, pointed out, he may have got, I don't know, some kind of floor damage maybe from going over the grass. That, these things aren't rally cars. They have very low suspension. As you can just see, Craig, as we watch on the shots, just watch how low the skirts on either side are to the ground. They could be easily damaged by going over the grass and bouncing up and down the way Douglas Anderson did. Of course, it could be front left suspension damage from coming back on the circuit and ploughing into the side of Danny Diaz. And coming to think of it, Craig, could that be rear suspension damage potentially for Danny Diaz, which is causing him to have this this terrible race pace? As it is
quite possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say quite possibly, yeah. Maybe not as quite severe as suspension damage, but it could have caused some sort of tracking, anything at all in the rear of the car. As you see with any kind of touring car, the wheels are probably the weakest part of the car. Any kind of contact can break steering arms, things like that. So maybe not that drastic in this case, but yeah, any kind of aero damage as well towards the rear of those cars could be causing this. But one thing I want to quickly say about this leading pair, although they're having not having a ding-dong battle, but they are close together and kind of putting each other under pressure, they're keeping good pace. Person behind them isn't able to catch up at all, and he's got clean air. You'd think he'd be able to pound the laps and then catch these two and make it a three-way battle, but although they're fighting, the pace from this pair is quite unbelievable. They're keeping the lead and, dare I say it, pulling away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it was a very, very close qualifying, I think. And that the gap between them, as we get, what a lovely helicopter shot, Craig. But as I was saying, in qualifying, I think the gap between Lennon and Anderson was only about 1600ths of a second, and Paul wasn't very much further back than that. I think the top 5 were all separated by half a tenth or something, so very, very close to each other's pace. Christopher Pedersen, yeah, and he's struggling to catch them up in free air, like you mentioned. But I wonder if Paul getting slipstream from Lennon is anything to do with that. But then again, we saw in Poznan that slipstream is not overly effective, as downforce isn't a major factor of these cars. Like formula cars and stuff, downforce is everything. So when you get a bit of downforce relief, a bit of drag, release from a slipstream, it's very effective. In this case, it is not. These helicopter shots are lovely and probably the best part of the race so far, I'm sad to say, but round 3 will fix that and beyond. As we look at this leading pair then, it is Stephen Paul chasing down Gareth Lennon for the race win. We're on lap 19 of turn, because look back then, that is a Force Fizzy car and an Isle of Base car getting into a bit of a scramble. Was that Nut Martinson or is that Evan Imrie? That's Nut Martinson.
That's Imrie taking over Evans there. That was a nice move up the inside. We'll assume we only caught the end of it, but oh no, sorry,
yeah,
you're right.
It's Martinson, yeah. I think that was
Imrie's lost a place to Dougie. It's all kicking off now.
It is. So Douglas Anderson down but not out. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to see them, as that is Joshua Robert Wood looking, and now Craig Evans is looking. They've left it a bit late, but Douglas Anderson is trying to go all the way around the outside. He tried this earlier and it didn't work. And Craig Evans has managed to close the door on him again, and that gave Evan Imrie the opportunity, but Evan Imrie unable to go anywhere with it. And they've left it a bit late, Craig, but they're certainly starting to wake up now.
Well, definitely, and in the background as well, we look Ross McFarlane, the other base car, trying to make a move on Josh Martin. But do you know what? This is all Danny Diaz backing them all up, bunching everybody together. Car in front's trying to make a move on the other car, and it's just putting it out of place. And the chasing car then has a gap up the inside to go for, and it's just it all knows the tail at times. And then all of a sudden you get a gap like this when moves fail to come off. But good for Douglas Anderson to get a move back up past Evan Imrie. He's salvaging some points for himself there. But we've got Wood right on the back of Diaz to be the final lap of the race, and it's now or never for Wood.
We can confirm that it is the leaders are on the final lap then. They're just that bit ahead that the leaders have started the final lap. These guys are actually still on lap 19, but I do get your understanding of the tension. It is a bit confusing with our lap counter up there, but it's just like you said, with those guys having such good pace up at the front, they've been able to pull a mass together. Look at the run Danny Diaz got out of that corner compared to Wood, and look at even Martinson got a massive run on Wood as a result of that. I don't know what went on with Wood there. He kind of just didn't think about it. As we're looking at an ISR car try to attack a YMR car, and ahead of the YMR car is an EQU car trying to attack the Mukai and Brew cars. So I believe this is Andrew Pavia attacking Zach Swader, attacking Colin McAllister, I think it is. It might be Chuck B. We can look at the flag on the roof. I think that was a Scottish flag. And we can see there, Craig, that Byrne actually has quite heavy front splitter damage. If you just look to the right of the bumper, it's a bit bent inwards. So I don't know if he's got into the back of Andrew Pavia at some point on this lap. So these guys are starting the final lap now then. And so it will be. There it is, Craig. What an interesting spectacle this is. Last week's race winner and pole sitter sitting in plumb dead last.
I know he must have swapped cars to Lennon, don't you think? That's what it seems like after what happened last week. And speaking of Lennon, here he is, coming towards the end of the lap with Wood and not even Wood, sorry, Stephen Paul right behind him. So these two have been nose to tail pretty much from the start. And I think Peterson's closed in a little bit in the recent few laps, but yeah, they've got nothing on this spread. They've got such pace they even fooled me to think it was the last lap earlier on. So yeah, coming home towards the end here, Toby.
Yeah, these guys have had really good pace all the way through. Stephen Paul gave him pressure all the way through. It's the last of these races before the huge new update that will completely change the way we race. But for now, Gareth Lennon takes pole position and he manages to command the race from start to finish. And our race winner at Mendig in Germany then is Gareth Lennon. He does exactly what his teammate did this time last week. And what a story that is, that these two are such in a different league to their teammate, it seemed. Like Gareth Lennon finished about 18th or 19th when Callum Spencer won, and then Callum Spencer finishing 20th and last today when his teammate wins. So what an interesting way Rothman's SLR are going about this. Maybe they're just focusing all their efforts on one car each weekend rather than, equally on both cars. As we look up and down the field then, Danny Diaz managed to hold on with that damage. But yeah, it's hard to take it away from anyone but Gareth Lennon and Stephen Paul today. They were definitely in the spotlight, Greg.
Oh, far and away. Honestly, the pace they had even while they were battling against each other was just incredible. Like you said, Peterson, third place behind him. A good result for him, but he had no answer for them at all, and it was nice for the NOR guys to pick up their first points of the season after, like you said, disappointing first round at Poland. But yeah, it was good back into the field. My math serves me correctly. I think Rothman's SLR are top of the teams and probably the driver's standings at the end of this. So it'll be interesting to see the standings once everything's classified and unofficial.
And what a difference a week can make then. From hero to zero, you'd have to say, for Callum Spencer here at Poland. What a shame for him as he trundles back to the pit lane, and definitely a weekend to forget. So as we go and take a look then at our race winning standings, we can see that Gareth Lennon was able to take the win and the pole position, which gives him the 26 points. Stephen Paul comes home second, and Christopher Pettersson for Nemesis Online Racing takes their first points of the season, and what a way to take the first points by getting a podium. Danny Diaz held on for fourth with what we believe was suspected damage, which caused him to have terrible race pace, which triggered the train of 5th Josh Wood, 6th Nook Martinson, 7th Craig Evans, 8th Douglas Anderson, 9th Evan Imre, 10th Josh Martin. That was your whole train, and those are your point scorers. So it's Josh Martin then who takes the final point, and then you can see the rest of the guys from 11th down. We can see that out of all of these guys, I think Toby Byrne made the most moves. I think he started somewhere like 18th or 17th and was able to climb up to 15th out of the non-point scorers. Valerio Campagnari unable to score any points. Charles McBee, Nickel Foggy, Ryanus Melgalis. That's interesting that the first and second, Craig, are actually second to last and last then. So as we quickly go and look at our new standings then, as a result of this, you can see that Callum Spencer and Gareth Lennon then are tied on points at 26 apiece, and then we have 3 cars, Craig, tied on 18 points for third place, Melgalis, Paul and Wood. So Mr. Consistency getting himself up there for that one. Josh Martin drops down 3 places and finishes in 6th place, as a result of losing the points. Christopher Pettersson climbs up into 7th place, and we have Danny Diaz, Zach Swader, Charles McBee, and then you can see the rest of Anderson, Martinson, Imre, Evans, and the last of the point scorers with a single point is Nickel Foggy, Byrne, McFarlane, Pavia, McAllister and Campagnari, all yet to score a point. The team standings, as Craig said, are incredibly great looking for Rothman's SLR as they sit 16 points ahead of GTFG, and it looks like this may be gearing up for a season of a battle between Rothman's SLR and GTFG. But incredible start for Rothman's SLR. Team EQU sitting third, but will be a little bit disappointed given they weren't able to really challenge for any podium pace or anything like that today. ISR is just a point ahead of NLR, and NLR is just a point ahead of Force Fizzy, so a great little battle, and then Force Fizzy is just a point ahead of NLR, so a really good battle shaping up for the midfield teams. Then we have Mackay and Brew with 10 points, all from Charles McBee last time out in Poznan. YMR with 8 points, and then last in the standings then is Isle of Base. So Craig, that was a bit of a slow burner, but next time out we have a lot to look forward to. But let's not take anything away from Gareth Lennon's performance today.
No, another fantastic performance from the team. Obviously, Lennon, great for him. He's improved from the last race. Obviously, his teammate Spencer not having the best of days, but as a team, they've got a lot of positives to take from that. They're leading the Drivers' Championship and the Teams' Championship, so they really cannot ask for much more than that at the moment. GTFG team both got their drivers in the points as well overall, so yeah, it's going to be a very, very close championship. And like you say, the midfield as well, even from 4th down to 10th, from 4th to last, it's going to shape up to a good one. So with these changes, track like Snetterton, anything can happen next time out.
The changes are coming, and we are very excited to see these drivers get their claws out. Thank you ever so much for watching. I've been Toby Byrne. That's been Craig Evans. Thank you ever so much for joining me in the box today, Craig. And until next time out at Snetterton, goodbye.